Norway's mainland is full of meadows for farm animals to graze on. Therefore, we won't have problems with our expanding cities for a really long time. However, there are multiple big environmental problems, both in Norway and the rest of the world, that need to be addressed. We will specifically be talking about the problems around meat, dairy, and food production. Northern Norway is well known for cod fishing and having using cod's mating habits in a sustainable and effective way for over 100 years. In recent times, fishers have begun to use industrial fishing boats called trawlers. Trawlers scrape the sea bottom and a huge net catches everything that stands in its way. Both dolphins and seals are known to get caught in the nets. The Norwegian government has put restrictions on how many fishes can be caught each year, but this doesn't stop the destruction of the sea bottom nor the drowning of dolphins and seals. This can become a big problem in Norway. The government have split the trawlers and normal boats so that they don't have to compete over where to fish. This makes the fishing economically stable, and the restrictions and quotas makes it sustainable. In an ideal world, we would stop using trawlers, but this thought is merely a dream. The Norwegian fishing industry is becoming more and more dependent on trawlers because of its low cost and therefore high margins. It's a shame that local fishers are switching to industrial boats, both for a cultural heritage and for the environment.
Another big problem with the meat production is the waste. Norway does have farms and we produce most of our beef and all of our milk from our own cows. That is great due to the pollution with transportation, but a farm with 2,500 dairy cows actually produces the same amount of waste as a city of 411,000 people. And the manure from dairy milking 200 cows produces as much nitrogen as is in the sewage from a community of 5,000 to 10,000 people. This can be a big problem and everybody should think about starting to eat less meat or try plant-based meat. You can, for example, start with one day without meat in the week in schools and at home.
Greenhouse gases. There is no doubt that climate change and global warming is a result of greenhouse gas emissions. Carbon dioxide, nitrous oxide, and methane are some of these gases. Animal agriculture is one of the biggest factors to greenhouse gas emissions, actually accounting for at least 32 million tons of CO2 equivalent, or 51% of annual worldwide greenhouse gas emissions. This is more than a combined exhaust from all transportation worldwide. Methane is a gas shown to be 25 to 100 times more destructive and has a global warming potential 86 times of CO2 on a 20-year time frame. Livestock is also responsible for 65% of all emissions of nitrous oxide. This gas has 296 times the global warming potential of CO2 and stays in the atmosphere for 250 years. Many people are currently working on converting to wind and solar power instead of fossil fuels. This could decrease our greenhouse gas emissions. But however, without fossil fuels, we will exceed our 565 gigatons of CO2 equivalent limit by 2030, all from raising animals. And in addition, converting to wind and solar power will take more than 20 years and roughly $43 trillion. Water. Meat and dairy production takes a lot of water, partially because the animals feed require much water. Animal agriculture is responsible for 20 to 33% of all freshwater consumption in the world today. And to produce 1 gallon of milk, it's needed 1,000 gallons of water. And one hamburger requires 660 gallons of water to make, which is equivalent to showering for 2 entire months. If we keep consuming this much water through personal activities, animal agriculture and other industries, 2/3 of the world's population may face water shortages. Water connects every aspect of life. Organisms on land and in the water will suffer from water shortages and pollution.
Food waste is a big problem around the world. The average Norwegian throws out a quarter of the food they buy. In Norway, we make biogas from our food waste and use it to power parts of our public transportation. This makes our food waste less harmful for the environment, but it's only a temporary solution. We need to become more conscious of what we buy in the grocery store. If everyone on Earth polluted as much as Norwegians, we would need 3.6 Earths to survive. How do we solve this seemingly unsolvable situation? The answer is actually rather simple. We need to stop using animal products. This is an incredible hard challenge though. Stopping the use of animal products is as hard as if we were to only use electric transportation overnight. We won't even stop using them in our own lifetimes. But eventually, we will need to change our way of life. There's only a matter of time. The world as a whole also needs to eventually stop using materials like wool or leather. We can, for example, use bamboo, cotton, or even plastic materials to make clothes. Our future is bright, but only if we make a change. Countries that depend on agriculture is going to need a lot of time to switch their whole economy around, while countries like Norway and Sweden can change this much quicker. If we want to solve the climate crisis, we need to stop the constant, unsustainable slaughtering of animals that we have in today's modern world.